Hey sports friends, Greg Met from Med for Knife and MKT USA. What's going on? Oh my God! So I've got so many emails of guys breaking my wheels off for not shooting a bunch of videos. But honestly, I have like I guess it's I have PTSD from the election. I was thinking of going down to the VA, seeing they get me on some disability or whatnot, but I've got some hardcore PTSD going. I'm almost, you know, I went through my 5 stages of grief, accepting that Hillary was going to be the president, and then the Donald got to be president, and I've just been kind of reeling from the whole thing. But now I'm getting wound up again, because what has happened with the executive branch, where every liberal fucktard in the United States who happens to wear a black robe because he can't actually hack it in the private sector and becomes a judge, can stick it up the president's ass and undermine the executive. I don't know what's going on. So I'd love to hear some thoughts from you guys. I got a cool knife. Every now and then I say I'll never do this again, and then somebody says, oh, Greg, make me a knife and do a custom knife for me. And those of you who try to order them know that I just don't do them anymore. I love making original knives, but I don't like making them originals for people because they have expectations and it's really hard to manage all of the variables. And what inevitably happens is I have a very, very small return ratio here. And I have a very high return ratio on custom individual made to order custom knives. The reason why is guy says he wants blue and I make blue and it comes back the wrong color blue, and I go, man, at 78 degrees in this electrolyte, this is how blue I can make titanium. I don't get to choose the hue. It's not like I can open a different tube of paint. So I just decided that it wasn't worth the hassle. I had more fun, like a builder. When you get to a certain point as a builder, you make a spec home and you're not beholden to some $1 million custom home purchaser who wants to micromanage every little aspect of this. So this knife I made for Josh. And a lot of you guys know Josh out there with Wild Zora. He puts himself out. He's all over the place. And he collects a lot of knives. He's a serious knife collector. Great guy. He asked me to make a knife for him. We went and had dinner in Little Italy in the city at at the New York Custom Knife Show, and so I agreed to make him this knife. And I thought I kind of had it all down. I thought I had everything, and he had talked a lot about putting a Damascus blade on it, and he wanted something. He wanted something that was adorned all over, which is not really it's not really my style. So I go through all of this, and I get some, I call up Chad at Chad Nichols Damascus, and I call up Chad. I say, hey, Chad, I need a hunk of metal, and da-da-da-da-da. And I ended up doing, against my better judgment, I did a Damascus blade for him because he really wanted it. And I made what was a really cool knife. There's all sorts of little weird give and take in knife making. So I put a ceramic detent ball in it, and the ceramic detent ball, which is so hard, it's almost 90 Rockwell. It kept abrading the slightly softer Damascus material and creating a little squeak to it. I can't remember, it was a squeak or something going on. And then if you wipe it off, boom, it's fine. And at some point it would have stabilized, because microscopically, you've got all the highs and lows of the Damascus. The softer material, it was kind of etching, and then at some point it would have gone as deep as it was going to go, and it would have had enough surface area to run smoothly. But he didn't like it because he wanted the thick blade. And I was brokenhearted because the knife was badass. It just was going to have a longer break-in period because it had a ceramic detent ball on a Damascus blade. I generally don't do it that way. It's just the way it happened. So here's what happened. I got the knife done, and then it's been like almost a year, and I talked to other knife makers and they go, oh yeah, man, same thing with me. So he hates it, and it's not what he wanted, and he paid good money for it, and I get it. So he wants a thick blade really badly. So I make a thick blade, and I did a stainless one for him because he paid a little extra. And the first one I made, I did all this work on it. I got it all squared away, and because I did some sculpting on the outside of it, I changed the geometry, And I pressed the shoulder pit in, I put the blade in, the thing was awesome, it swung great. I opened it up and the shoulder pin cracked where I had done some sculpting. And I was like, so second blade now, beautiful, bunch of extra work, it cracked. And you know what it was is, I know exactly what the tension's supposed to be like for certain things, and I don't do it every day, and I put the pin in a little too tight. So at that point, I had this big emotional kind of like roadblock in my spirit against the knife. Not against Josh, he's a great dude. So it took me a while, and I said, hey, you guys, run me another stainless blade, get a pin put in it, have the guys do it, have it all swinging and done, and once it's all done, get it back to me, and then I'll go through and pimp it after it's all done. So we finally got this knife done, and I'm telling you, I almost just sent him his money back a half a dozen times, and the capitalist in me bitch slapped me every time I thought of doing that. So I finally got the knife finished, and I finished it about a month ago, and it's been sitting in my office. And I know guys are like, a month? Why don't you send it to the guy, Greg? You know, I've been playing with it, and I just want to make sure it's not going to break in weird. Because he's waited so long, and I've done 2 blades for this knife. This is the 3rd blade, and I now have it together. So without much further ado, Sean, why don't you pan in on this thing, and we'll give everybody a little tour. So I got this Roman helmet when I was in Europe. This thing's made in Eastern Europe. And I did this square knot lanyard. I don't even know what this knot style is called, but I pulled the guts out of the 550 cord to make it a nice tight little lanyard and put a bead on it out of brass to match the hardware. Did some one-off gear brass main pivot screws. And then I've made a couple of these, and they're all really unique. So this one's been distressed. I actually distressed this with a sword from the French and Indian War that I have. It's not done with tooling. It's not done with modern stuff. I literally took an antique sword and kind of beat the crap out of this with it. And then I've got this battle hammer, this Viking battle hammer, and I laid the side out. I bolted the side down so it wouldn't bend, and I beat it up with the battle hammer. Then put some patina on it and cleaned up I cleaned up the distressed area so it wouldn't be sharp to the hand, and then softened it up and put some patina on it. You guys might recognize this as a Roman shield knife that I did a couple years ago. Just a kooky design I came up with. Looked like a bolted together shield that had been in battle. So the S35 VN blade for the full thickness Praetorian tie, and I've distressed it and polished it. I distressed it, and then I did a chemical patina on it, and then I polished it, gave it a burnish to it. And then he got what has turned out to be something we're going to put on all of our knives. We did the first lanyard Praetorian tie breaker so that he could put a lanyard on his Praetorian really nicely. So kudos to Josh. It was a nice little addition. And I didn't want to do it for years, and the only way I did it is if I could put it on a knife and go break some windows on cars, which I did, and it works great. It's got a really kind of distressed, industrial, used, kind of mechanical finish to it. So I think it's a pretty nice knife. And I hope he likes it, because I'm not taking a return on it. What do you think, Sean?
Really nice.
Well, you're just saying that. All right, so that knife's headed out to Josh. You guys in the comments in the doobly-doo down below, say hi to Josh. Give him a hard time. I know you guys ran into him at the shows. And don't forget to go out there and check out their Zora product. So I guess his wife is named Zora, and they make these extruded vegetable meat bars. It's kind of like healthy beef jerky. So they use organic material, organic meats and vegetables, and they stew it up in a big recipe, and then they extrude it out of a machine, and it's kind of packaged like beef jerky, and it's pretty tasty and super healthy. And they do like a basil and lamb thing, and they do a turkey and something, and then they do one that's got a pepperoni flavor to it, but it's all like chili peppers and organic meat in the product. It's a pretty cool product. So he's done a lot of cool business stuff in the past, and now he's doing something that's super low tech, but bringing another product to the market. He's a real interesting cat. If you run into Josh out there, ask him where his Praetorian is and why he's carrying somebody else's knife. Why isn't he carrying his Praetorian when you see him? And then ask him about the Zora meat bars and see how it's going. Anyways, Josh, thanks for your patience, everybody else. I'm out!